All right, hey everybody, welcome to Essential Viewing
Live!
A show with not one, not two, but three hosts. We're here talking about the movie Room today, starring Brie Larson, Jacob Tremblay, and Sean Bridgers, directed by Lenny Abramson, and written by Emma Donoghue, and based on a novel by Emma Donoghue. So, how do we usually do this?
Well, we can kind of start with a rundown. I mean, you did the intro, Chris, so Bryce, if you want to give your opinion first, or a synopsis, and we'll go from there.
So, I mean, we already talked about this a bit yesterday, but
yeah, that's all right.
I really like this movie a lot. It's a very emotional story. It had a bunch of fantastic performances, a really good story, it's just hard to watch at some points, but it was still great performances, a great movie, I thought.
Okay. Again, I'll start off kind of like I said yesterday. I thought the movie was awful. Again, I'm joking. I really, really did enjoy the film. I know that we talked about it a little bit. I thought it was put together really well. The performances were incredible, especially Jacob Tremblay portraying Jack. Like, just an incredible performance from a 7-year-old kid.
Oh, yeah.
And in a film that I really enjoy it because it talks about like a very, very dark subject. It has dark subject material, very like difficult themes that a lot of people may not talk about, but it portrays them in a very beautiful way. And it's a way that I think is very approachable and that the mature audiences such as ourselves will appreciate. I think, like, if we would have watched it at the Marquee, like, all the fuckers at the Marquee would have been ruffling at everything.
Yeah, I enjoyed the film, and I wasn't, honestly, the way it was marketed was weird, because I was expecting something much different.
The trailers for this movie, they were bad.
Yeah.
I honestly just, like, I remember, like...
I saw, like, one, like, at Sundance once, and I'm like, oh, wait, that's what I wanted to see, like...
Looking at the promotional material for this film, I was like, oh, I was like, this is going to be rough. But I actually did enjoy the film. It was very interesting because it's this sort of juxtaposition of, like, this very, unbelievably dark sort of subject matter with, like, a kind of through the lens of childhood fantasy, you know?
Yeah, so it's the actual book, I haven't read it, but it's actually written from the perspective of the kid.
Right.
Wow.
So, I mean, you can kind of see that in the movie where, like, you see it through his eyes when he's hiding in the wardrobe, or, like, his little narration, so.
And I really enjoyed the attention to detail, you know? And, I talk about, like, emotional realism, emotional truth. And I really thought that this movie sort of hit on the kind of emotional realism that I like to see in movies. Just down to, like, the little details, like, if you think about it, Jack, like, referring to the objects in the room, as, like, room, skylight, sink. It made sense, right? It made sense because, like, he's only ever seen one of them, so it makes sense that they'd be, like, proper nouns to him. Mm-hmm. So I just was really kind of impressed with the attention to detail and so really getting into the thought process of what it would be like to be trapped in a room and how, like, you have this really, this guy who's got them locked in there, he's like the boogie bear, right? I mean, he's a horror.
Boogie bear? What the fuck?
The
boogeyman?
Yeah.
Or just the fucking rapist?
Yeah.
Like,
the rapist, like, a motherfucker. Guy. You know what I mean? But you have, like, this kid with his innocence who's sort of turning the horrible situation in sort of like a dreamlike world where, outside of the room is outer space. And I thought it was really kind of beautiful despite being so dark and gritty.
Yeah. And it shows how Brie Larson's character of Joy, like, she wanted, even though there was this terrible situation that she and her son were in, she wanted to raise him to the best of her capabilities, and she tried to think of, like, okay, how can I explain our situation in a way that will make sense to him and keep him from realizing, like, the terrible situation they're in. So, because room for Jack was normal. That was, like, normalcy. Yeah. And she tried to explain it in a way where it wouldn't be traumatizing to say, like, hey, we're stuck here. We're prisoners, like, by this dude that like we didn't do anything wrong. Mm-hmm. And it was a way to kind of portray to him that, like, to give him a somewhat normal childhood, given the terrible situation they're in.
I think I mentioned this earlier, but, like, that was a fantastic scene where, like, she decides to tell him, like, this isn't the entire world.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And, like, I feel like that was a very hard scene to act, especially for the kid.
Because,
like,
yeah.
he has to make this realization on his own, and like especially as like a 7-year-old, like even him just comprehending what this movie is about.
Yeah, like that's
for him
amazing.
to like portray that scene was like incredible.
Yeah, I mean, Jacob Tremblay, amazing performance, and I feel like a lot of child actors, they do a film like this early in their career and sort of fall off after that. But I feel like I don't know, to deliver this kind of performance at that age, very impressive.
Yeah, if he can keep it up, like he could be like the next possible Leo DiCaprio, or well, no, because like in What's Eating Gilbert Grape, like he was like 10 years old when he did that role.
Mm-hmm.
So like that I mean, he probably has a bright future. I know that Bryce, I think you mentioned that he might be up for Best Supporting Actor, and I personally thought he was the main character of the film, and he should be
he seemed like a
for
lead actor
for the lead best
the
lead
film was
actor.
about him.
Like, but so I think I don't know if he's going to get the award for Best Supporting Actor, but if he does, like he absolutely deserves it. I think like he was incredible, and I told this to Bryce, but it was really strange for me to watch the film because Jacob Tremblay as Jack, he looks just like my 5-year-old half brother whose name is also Jack.
I think it's the second time you've had that person looks just like my relative moment on Essential Viewing.
Really?
Yeah.
What was the first one?
I think it was in Short Term 12. I think you had a similar phenomenon going on.
Huh.
In one of the movies we watched, I definitely having a little deja vu.
I don't know. I mean, I have like 6 younger siblings, so it's possible.
Your relatives should like pick up acting, huh?
Yeah, no, like just no, like my fight.
Make a movie about Cole's life.
No,
starring his
be
family.
Really shitty. Just to be poorly acted. Regardless, but yeah, so that was just really interesting to see because like just I was looking like God, that looks just like him.
Yeah.
And his name, my little brother's name is Jack as well. It's just like minus the long hair.
Uh-huh.
But like it was just, and he talked like similar voice, similar kind of facial structure, everything. So that was just a really interesting thing for me to experience.
Yeah. And this movie, they explored a variety of themes. The second half, I thought was definitely weaker than the first half. When after she got out, it was. I mean, because the first half was just there was such a dramatic tension.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's such pace.
Like when he's escaping, like that scene is like you're like white knuckling the whole.
Oh yeah,
like when he was standing up in the back of the pickup truck, I'm like, get down! Like
the guy,
he's gonna look behind and see you. Like,
and I love that.
He doesn't know like what that.
Even in that tension, the tension of that. Probably my favorite moment of the movie was when he unwraps himself from the carpet and is in the back of the truck and just looks up at the sky.
Yeah.
And he's just his eyes open wide and he's like kind of like just overwhelmed.
Oh yeah.
For a second by he's in the world and it's a pretty amazing moment. Mm-hmm. Just getting exposed to all that at once. But it's almost like a beautiful moment.
Yeah. No.
But again,
I'd say this is a movie that has a lot of beautiful moments and a lot of like sad, like unbelievable moments. Yeah. And I know one of your criticisms of like Short Term 12 was they skipped from happy scene to sad scene
to happy scene,
and like,
emotional. I don't think that
this movie did not do that at all.
No, this movie
it was more just like a moment of
because
happiness.
the thing about this movie is this movie and Short Term 12 is that this movie didn't feel a need to like pull its punches, at least throughout the first half.
It felt very natural.
It did feel very natural.
Yeah.
Now I'm not saying it pulled its punches in the second half, but I thought that the second half had a bit of fat on it. I thought it could have been trimmed a bit.
Okay.
I thought the second half was really interesting because, like, coming out of the room, like, you expect Jake to be the one that's, like, not going to adapt well. Mm-hmm. And then, like, it's kind of... I admit, when they first got out, I was like, where are they going to go from here?
Yeah.
But then when they kind of did this, like, flip of, like, now Brie Larson's, like, mother is, like, she's the one that's freaking out. Like, I thought that was super interesting to see, and it definitely kept my attention the whole time. I didn't think there was any problems.
There were some night...
I guess I'll just comment. Like it was brought up by the doctor after both Jack and Joy escaped the hospital. The doctor said like it's good that you got him out while he's still plastic, and he's like, I'm not made of plastic.
Yeah.
But like that's a good point because like he just because of how he was developing as a person, he was able to adapt back into society, kind of get acclimated from like this strange world that Brie Larson kind of created for him to normal society, but Brie Larson didn't have a problem. She was stuck in that shed for 7 years, and then she got out, and it was very difficult for her to kind of watch her son kind of like go back into society, and she struggled with that. And agree with Bryce. That was really interesting because you thought it would be kind of a study of how it would be difficult for Jack to become part of society when it's really more of a struggle for Joy.
Note about the cinematography that came up in that scene. Something that I really liked was really cool. Just a small thing, but when the doctor was bringing them the breakfast and the different things like the pills and the sunscreen, all that, they shot it to sort of the way it was shot was suggestive of old Nick bringing, you know what I mean? Like you could see that Jack got scared because it was like the doctor was handing him things one by one. And it was like old Nick bringing the Sunday treats into the room.
I didn't know that.
And the way that the camera work was done with the doctor handing the stuff was very. It sort of switched to be similar to the way that the scenes in the room were shot.
The same perspective from Jack in the wardrobe.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So that it was very suggestive. They even had like a first-person view where you saw him look down as the doctor's handing the stuff. Okay. So it's like that same. The camera work really sort of brought the same fear that Jack had when he was in the room and old Nick was bringing the stuff. They sort of brought that back with very creative cinematography in the scene with the doctor. And I thought that was really cool. Really cool sort of just director's trick there.
Some more attention to detail.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's one thing I feel like this film, there were to me, I didn't think there were any hiccups like in the film at all. The only thing, and I mentioned this to Bryce yesterday, was William H. Macy.
William H. Macy,
the grandfather.
The grandfather, his at the dinner table scene where he's like he won't look at Jack because as Bryce said yesterday, he was a product of rape and he couldn't accept that. But then they didn't go anywhere with that story at all. And I think that was like the only. It wasn't bad. Like it wasn't like it was like very apparent. It was something I remembered like just offhand last night. I kind of wish they would have explored that a little more.
I thought that was like a really good scene, and like I honestly kind of forgot about it until you mentioned it yesterday.
Yeah. I mean, I would have appreciated
his character was they went too deep into his character to not go any deeper than that.
Yeah, it was kind of strange.
So it's like we're exploring a problem that he had, and maybe some of the time that they spent after that scene could have been spent exploring that problem more. Whereas because after that it was sort of like just like almost like a play-by-play of all the stuff a little boy does, playing with toys, and which I thought it was good, but I just thought it was a bit. There wasn't the same. It was almost like two different movies, and I get that it's going to be sort of different movies with two different settings, but just like everything was so tight in the first half when they were inside the room, and it was kind of felt like they were just kind of ambling around looking for things to do afterwards. Writing wise,
I will say that I actually liked the character arc, and it was very small of Leo, like Joy's I think stepfather or like her mother's partner. How he you find out that Joy's parents got a divorce after she was captured, which is like very sad in and of itself, especially like escaping this room and not knowing that happened, and how that her being captured probably influenced that divorce. But then how your mom starts hang around with some other guy that she was friends with before, and how that could be really emotionally difficult for you to handle. And I remember the first time that she walks down into the basement of the house, and Leo's like, "Hey," I'm like, "This guy's a fucker."
Yeah.
I thought that right away.
That's what I was gonna say. Another a thing about the direction of the movie is that when he first showed up, I was like, "Oh."
He's like, "Oh, this guy's got."
I was like, "Who is this? Another
rapist?" He was
even kind of shambled around the corner. He was like,
but he turned out to be a really awesome guy.
That really sweet scene with
what can I do?
Who can I play with? I've got something sweet in the kitchen,
and he eats some cereal with Jack, and then he brings him his dog, which is a great. That was a great.
The scene where Jack meets the dog. That's one of my favorite.
That
scenes
was awesome.
In the whole movie.
But I really liked his kind of character progression and how he turned out from being this guy. I was like, ugh, and it kind of shows how Joy might have felt about him at first, how he started as this guy you're not familiar with, but he's slowly.
He had a lot more character than her father did.
Oh yeah, her father was there for 5 minutes and left.
Yeah, he was. They kind of.
I guess he left with the intent of not coming back. I think.
Yeah.
Which they kind of just slapped. They kind of just slapped an asshole label on him without really giving him a chance.
Yeah, I wish they would have done.
He was just an asshole, and it wasn't really possible for him to be anything but. His character was very sort of.
He was in 5 minutes of the movie.
Yeah, and I think he should have maybe I don't know. All the other characters seem to have a sort of depth to them.
But the thing is, I can't complain. I mean, it's like my one gripe with the film, but like I can't really complain about it because everything else it was so like beautifully put together. I know we talked about emotional scenes before, and I'm comfortable talking about this, but like there were probably 5 times in the movie where I started tearing up, and like and the last scene was where I like full on like tears were streaming down my face, like I was actually crying a good amount. But like, I think of like when Jack first like rolls out of the carpet and he's looking up at the sky, like that was really like a powerful scene. When Jack meets the dog, when he
for me definitely when Jack and Mara reunited kind of after she tried to kill herself.
Yeah,
that
was
like run toward each other. Like, powerful.
Yeah, I mean, I liked. No, I mean those are definitely all good moments. I really enjoyed the ending. When they went back and just sort of finally kind of decided to just leave the place behind permanently.
Oh yeah.
I thought that was really good, and just sort of the narration too from Jack was all really, really powerful. Like usually, narration can be hit or miss, but I thought that this was really added to the film and kind of shaped the ending to be really good.
One thing I liked about the ending that I just kind of thought about was how Jack, he like living in room was like that's part of his life, like that happened to him and he was aware of that, and that's kind of demonstrated by the last scene where he looks at his mom and says, "It's not a room if the door's open." She's like, "Do you want me to shut the door?" And she's like, "No, it's fine." And like so he's aware, like he's aware of what happened. He said goodbye, like it's in his life. But he had no need to go back there. He had no need to like,
and that was like
remiss.
That was a big part of his character arc because like at the beginning, right when they got out of the room, he like asked like, "Can we go back? Like, can we go to bed?"
Yeah.
And like he wanted to go back there because like he knew of nothing else. And then finally at the end of the movie, he's kind of realized like what the entire world really is.
Yeah, and that's why when I talk about the the emotional realism, definitely because like whoever wrote Short Term 12. When they got out of room, if whoever that was wrote this movie, they would have just like swung on the swing and gotten ice cream afterwards,
and then chased the kid around with a flag on his back.
But in this film,
shots fired. Shots fired.
But in this film, they actually still have to deal. They're out of the room physically, but mentally, they're still trapped in there. At least until they're able to sort out their problems, which I thought was good. And I liked how the movie sort of hit on some of the greater themes of life in general. If something happens to you, sometimes, the world moves on. People go and, if someone disappears, their friends or whatever, they go and do whatever they're going to do. They go to the movies, they record podcasts, or whatever it may be. So
I think it's like the scene where Brie Larson's kind of looking at her yearbook.
She's looking at a picture of her high school.
And she's like, what happened to them?
Yeah.
Like they went on with their lives.
Yeah. So, I thought that really one of the, I'm not someone who usually likes movies about love, but usually movies about love, they're like, these people love each other, right? They just sort of, ham-fisted, I dare say.
Oh my God.
This film, this film actually sort of, it didn't say anything about, it just sort of expressed what love is, you know what I mean? With not by having the characters say they love each other, but with just the emotion that they displayed on screen, such great chemistry between Brie Larson and Jacob Tremblay. I wasn't impressed with Brie Larson after watching Short Term 12, but I think that she put in a great performance here.
She did. I still think she was like just surpassed greatly by Jacob Tremblay. He was amazing.
Yeah,
Brie Larson was very good. She does a great job. One thing you said about like explicitly stating love, I think there was like 1 or 2 points in the movie the actual like line of dialogue was "I love you," and that was the
only time between him and his grandma. Right?
Yeah, I think, and then there might have been one when he said it to his mom. But
that's okay. That's something people say.
Yeah,
but it's just like, a lot of movies just cheaply deal with love. You know what I mean? But this is a movie that it doesn't just it tests the characters' commitment to each other. It tests that. And that's when I talk about some of the movies that are very popular these days. I won't name any names.
Come on, Chris. Come on.
A film these days doesn't test its characters.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't test. It tells us that we have these great characters that we should admire, but it doesn't test them. And I thought this film really tested its characters and put them through things that, and they came out stronger for it. But they weren't strong in the first place.
For a lot of films that use romance and and relationships as a plot device, I'm just gonna say it like kind of in Avengers: Age of Ultron.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Like, no, I mean they use romance as a plot device, and this is a film not about romance, but about love and relationship. That'd be weird. Anyway, let's talk about something else, guys.
A tale for the ages.
But so it was a really well done. I think, like I said, it's for definitely more mature crowd. Like, I would definitely actually suggest to my mom to watch this. Which is kind of weird because my mom.
I would say anyone should watch this.
But not some immature ass motherfuckers.
I'd call it essential viewing.
It definitely. I think it definitely is. I mean, I guess from there, I will mention one thing. This is completely unrelated, but I like the fact that Brie Larson forced Jacob to start playing with Legos, and that was. I'm like, oh yeah.
And then at first he's like, oh no, I don't know.
And then he's like,
but then afterwards,
fuck yeah,
he's
I love
building
Legos.
so much shit. That was awesome.
Yeah, so I'm like, yeah, I'm not letting my kids watch TV until they're 8 years old. They're just gonna fucking play with Legos all the time. I'm like, that's cool. So because that was just something I connected with because Legos are dope.
If I have a kid, I'm gonna put that kid in front of a computer and give him some operating system.
Slave labor.
I'm gonna say we're gonna teach you how
Work
to code, son.
faster, my 3-year-old son.
We're gonna teach you how to code. But yeah, I mean, I really this is one movie where I think that usually having just a really bad guy is not really something I like. I usually like some sort of depth to the villains in movies. But I feel like in this film, it was excusable. And I'm not saying it was excusable, it was appropriate.
Oh, yeah.
It was appropriate.
He's a piece of shit.
Yeah, I mean, there's not really anything to someone who would do something like that, but just evil, And so this is a case where the character was appropriately shallow, and he was just...
Oh yeah,
he was just gross.
Yeah, he was the stereotypical
serial psycho killer with
he had
glasses.
He had the rapist glasses, and you saw him shirt cocking with his sweater on. That was weird.
He was just nasty, and I just couldn't. I was just I almost thought because I was surprised actually because I kind of thought that there was going to be some sort of sci-fi reason they were trapped in a room.
What?
I don't know. I didn't know anything about the movie.
I didn't either, but I thought that
an emotional drama with the sci-fi.
No,
twist.
I thought it was going to be some sort of fantasy.
It was The Matrix.
I don't know what I was expecting. Some sort of I was expecting something.
A unicorn would break them out of the room.
Yeah, I mean, look, you see this poster with the sky as a box and shit. I was
box and shit. I mean, whatever.
I was surprised when he came in because I was expecting some sort of
some alien to walk.
Not an
Gandalf
alien, but
comes in.
Yeah, I was expecting Gandalf to come in, and they try and get out, and Gandalf says, "You shall not pass."
By the way, I brought you some canned pears.
That's what I was expecting. Yeah, I guess. Okay, I guess I can't explain what I mean.
No,
I was expecting something a bit different,
but,
so I was pretty surprised when it was just but it was good.
Oh yeah, I think I don't know. On that note, I think we've kind of fleshed out most of the film. I think we can wind it down, go with our respective ratings. Chris, do you want to start out? Or should we? Okay, well, I'll start out. I know this surprised Bryce last night, but previously, my favorite film of 2015 was Mad Max: Fury Road, and Room has surpassed it.
I can't believe Cole changed his mind on this film.
I know. I mean, Mad Max still holds a great place in my heart. It's a super fun, amazing film, but Room for how it was put together, the emotional connection I had with it, and just the sheer amount of times I was emotionally affected by this film. That was just very impressive. So I think this is currently my favorite film of 2015. Like I said, Mad Max is entirely different film compared to this, but I think this beats it out for this year. So for overall quality of film, I had like one very minor gripe with it, but I still think this deserves a 10 out of 10. And for my second scale, which I also repeated to Bryce last night, for 12 out of 10 slide tears rolling down my face and the last scene. So it was very well, like excellent movie. I highly recommend you all watch it as long as you're like a mature audience that doesn't find this finds this material like somewhat interesting. I also will mention I didn't feel like the film dragged on at all. Like at no point was I like, wow, like when is this?
I only felt like it emotionally dragged on. Like
yeah,
I mean that was the point.
But time wise, I thought it was filled. It was paced very very well. So that's what I thought.
Yeah, so I'm pretty much in agreement with Cole. I mentioned last night my favorite movie so far this year has been Inside Out, and I don't know if this passes Inside Out. I say it's like really close.
But you like Inside Out better than Steve Jobs?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'd say this is pretty much on the same level as Inside Out. So
Inside Out a 12.
I'm giving. I mean, you don't like. I'm giving
it.
I'm giving it a 10 out of a 10 again. Like, I'm giving this one a 10 out of 10. Pretty much perfect.
Okay.
I agree with Cole. There's not much I can see really wrong with the movie. I don't agree with Chris when he said like the second half was like less weight. I thought it kind of carried the same weight.
Yeah.
Especially the whole arc of like Brie Larson trying to kill herself. Like that was super powerful, and kind of seeing Jake react to that, like it kept me super interested the whole time. I didn't see any drop in quality. So I'm at a 10 out of 10.
It's running at 1080p the whole time.
No buffering in the theater.
Yeah, and I'd love to slap this film with the essential viewing gold star, which is what happens when all three of us give a movie a 10.
Has that happened?
No.
Damn, I didn't
That's
know
what it's called, though.
The Essential Viewing Gold must watch.
Yeah, but I can't do it.
Damn it. Don't worry, my pick will get that.
I can't do it. I don't know.
You just can't give a movie a 10.
No. I can give a movie a 10, and I think I there's something down the line that I think will be getting a 10.
God damn it.
No.
But about this movie, no. I mean, great movie. I mean, I'm not gonna just rag on it. It was a great movie. It just, when I think of one of the other great emotion pieces that I've seen, which is the movie Drive, which also explores the idea of how far people are willing to go, for their commitment to each other. I think, I mean, those are completely different films, but I don't know. This movie didn't connect with me in the same way. I'm not saying that I'm not giving it a 10 because I didn't like it as much as Drive. I'm just saying when I look at the emotion movies I've watched, this one wasn't the one that connected with me the most. I did think that the second half dragged a bit, but I did really appreciate the direction of this movie. I appreciated the little things that the director did to really sort of match the imagery with the emotion of the film. And again, I thought that the movie was well written, really well written for the first half, very tight and very dramatic. And the second half, which did have a lot of value, just didn't have the same sort of impact with me. So overall, I would give this movie an 8.5 out of 10.
Same level? No, just under the Master, I think.
Just under the Master.
Okay.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, I'm a tough crowd,
Yeah,
I'm not a big consensus guy.
I don't think the movie's ever gonna get the essential viewing.
Unless Bryce and Chris give it a 10 out of 10 first, and I just want to fuck with them and give it a 10 out of 10 as well.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So that's.
We'll have to watch
my
Pulp
analysis.
Fiction or something.
Oh yeah, we definitely have to do that. Anyway, so yeah, thanks for listening, guys.
It's a great movie. I think it's one to watch out for. Award season's coming up.
Oh yeah, we need to do. Bryce and I talked about this yesterday. An Oscar pick podcast where we just talk after we go nominees. Absolutely. We put some money on the table. We can talk about. We can see which we bet on what we think is going to win. What our personal favorites were. So yeah.
And guys,
the shameless plug. Shameless butt plug.
We have got something huge coming up. And I've been pushing it for a long time.
Yep, Requiem for a Dream.
We still have to watch Requiem for a Dream.
And then my pick first.
We're going to be watching whatever Cole's got cooking on his hard drives. And then we're going to be watching a very special film, a film that means a lot to me. So stay excited for that, guys. And we will see you next time. This has been Essential Viewing Live.